interpretation to Bhagavad Gita and taking us into a deep inquiry about the nature of the self and from the Advaita perspective. So we have finished about 23 classes. This is class number 24. So the program schedule is like we meet on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST. For an hour, Bindoji will give a lecture class, after which we'll have Q&A for about half an hour as questions arise. So the replays are available of all the other 23 rooms and plus an introductory talk in Advaita Retold YouTube channel, or you can catch them on Clubhouse as replays. Housekeeping, the chat and hand raising will be off when Bindoji is conducting the class, after which I'll reopen for the discussions. Over to you, Bindoji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Welcome all. Let me do my invocation. Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrabhyo Vamshi Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Guru Ratmedi Murtiveda Vibhagine Vyomavat Pyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Slokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marudaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangapada Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Hastita Gadena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyandam na vidussura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. In the last class, we saw that clear-cut distinction is being made by Krishna for the path of knowledge and path of karma. But it is not that they are opposing each other. And Gita does not confuse the paths. It is orderly arranged in a way that karma purifies or the knowledge to shine in the listener. And what does the knowledge do? Knowledge is the one which frees the individual from the ignorance and the problems of related to ignorance called the samsara or the problems of the ephemeral world. So we will embark upon the next verses. Kincha anyat neha vikrama asho asti pratyavayo na vidyade swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahado bayat. Na iha neha. Iha means in this yoga. Na means there is no. Abhikrama, enduring. Nasha, loss. Asti. So what does it say? In this yoga, there is no enduring loss that is there. But what is there? Pratyavaya na vidyate. Pratyavaya means papam or the, what you call, harm which will result out of the action. Na vidyate means there is no papa. Swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahado bhayat. Even if a little of this yoga, asya dharmasya means here is indicating to this yoga, which is being referred here. Trayate means it emancipates or releases. Mahato bhayat means from very great danger otherwise will befallen us. To put it in simple English, in this there is no loss of effort, nor is there any harm by like production of contrary result or for transgression, etc. Even a little of this knowledge or even a little practice of this yoga protects the one who does that from great fear. Shankaracharya explains it. Na iha moksha marge karma yoge adikramaha nashaha. Abhikramanam abhikramaha prarambaha tasya nashaha na asti yada krishi ade. Yoge vishaye prarambasya na anaigayantigat phalatvam ityartha. What does he say? Here on the path of liberation, the path of liberation is namely karma yoga. And liberation is jnana itself. So don't confuse between the two. Jnanat evatu kaivalyam. The knowledge itself is liberation. Because our entanglement or bondage is due to ignorance. So the antidote for ignorance is knowledge. So here on this path of liberation called the Karma Yoga, there is no destruction of what has begun. Abhikrama means a beginning or a commencement. There is no loss of that beginning. Unlike in the activities such as agriculture, krishi. Why? That is to say, in the domain of Karma Yoga, a beginning does not have an uncertain or inconclusive result. Result aspect is not being harder upon. Any beginning can be started again from there. But whereas in the case of krishi or the agriculture, etc., after seeding the seeds, if you do not take care of it by watering and manure, etc., the agriculture will be lost. In this yoga, it is not like that. Kincha na api chikatsavat pratyavaya vidyate bhavati. Kintu solpam api asya dharmasya yoga dharmasya anishtritam chet trayate rakshati mahataha bhayat. That is samsara bhayat, janma marana adi lakshanat. Not like agriculture, and moreover, there is no adverse consequences. See, agriculture is that inconclusive result if you do not continue it. Whereas in the case of a treatment, a medical treatment, chikitsavat pratyavaya na vidyate. If wrongly undertaken or if discontinued without the full course, there also a damage can happen. Whereas in this, even a little of this dharma, this yoga dharma or this karma yoga, when practiced, it protects, saves one from a great fear. The fear of samsara characterized by birth, death and the like. This passage explicates the famous assurances in the Bhagavad Gita 240, which is that, and Krishna's intent is both philosophical and pastoral. Let us look into the details of it. No lost effort in Karma Yoga. Why do they say that? Krishna contrasts Karma Yoga with ordinary worldly living, like farming, trade or ritual, etc. Beginnings can be ruined if you do not, the ritual or farming or trade, what happens is that it can be, in the beginning itself, it can be ruined. It means you are not undertaking it properly. The effort can be wasted by you took the seeds for planting, but they didn't water it and manure it. So it can be a waste of effort. And results can fail entirely. Even if you have done that seeding, watering, manuring, etc., if the climate is not in condition with that, it will fail entirely. But in the case of Karma Yoga, which is a moksha marga, path of liberation, no sincere beginning is annulled. If it's a sincere beginning, it will remain. Nothing is reset to zero. That means if you begin it, it is not like that you have to start again all over. Because it's a path of knowledge. Whatever level of knowledge you are acquiring through Karma Yoga is purifying towards the knowledge. Even during the Karma Yoga, by practicing it, we are picking up aspects towards the knowledge. Therefore, there is no resetting to zero. And this removes the fear of failure. What if I begin and will I fail? In yoga, nothing fails. In Karma Yoga, not karma per se, Karma Yoga, nothing fails. Not an uncertain fruit, but the point which has been raised is anaikantika phalaktvam. Anaikantika phalaktvam means a definite fruit or result. He does not say that Karma Yoga immediately gives moksha. No. It never becomes futile. That is what he is saying. It inevitability conduces towards purification and knowledge. Inevitable. That it will purify towards the knowledge. The fructification can be gradual, but it is certain and in a definitive direction towards acquiring knowledge. Why say that no pratyavaya, negative rebound or papa? In some disciplines, for example, medicine, etc., a wrong practice can worsen the disease. A wrong medication can be. Or an incomplete methodology can cause harm. But in the Karma Yoga has no boomerang effect. Because there is no moral or spiritual penalty for practical purpose. For partial practice. If you do it partial and then you die, or you are unable to continue the yoga due to health reasons or whatever may be that, there is no penalty for it. That is the striking reassurance which Krishna is giving. On the path to freedom, there is no spiritual malpractice. Then, why even a little will save us from great fear? Krishna says, that is the heart of the passage of this asymmetry. Even if it is a small cause, it gives immense protection. Why? Because Karma Yoga weakens Raga and Dvesha and reduces the grip of doership. because you are not going to be attracted towards the results of the karma. And it aligns one's action into devotion. The karma, when done in the form of offering, it increases the devotion in the doer. Thus, even minimal practice can help in interrupting the momentum of samsara, where we have the feeling of birth, death, and punya, papa, etc. It also prevents one falling back into ignorance. That is the great fear we are referring to. It is not a pain, but the endless repetition of birth, death, etc. And in the overall architecture, the hierarchy is Karma Yoga does not liberate by itself, but it protects, purifies, and orients the practitioner with a guarantee of eligibility of knowledge. Thus, there are no wasted effort. There is no danger of doing partially and unable to pursue further. And there is no resetting to zero or regression. Only a forward movement. To sum up, this verse says that on the path of Karma Yoga, no sincere beginning is ever lost. Unlike worldly actions, efforts cannot be annulled. There is no adverse consequences from partial practice also. Even a minimal practice protects from the great fear of samsara. Therefore, Karma Yoga guarantees progress towards moksha, liberation. Knowledge alone liberates, but Karma Yoga ensures one reaches knowledge or one is apt for assimilating the knowledge. So Krishna's assurance should be seen as a path to freedom. And nothing is really wasted. And nothing is ever punished. And even a small step, baby step, breaks the cycle of birth and death. "41. Eyam Sankhye Buddhihi Ukta Yogecha Vakshyamana Lakshanasa." Now he's bringing to Sankhya and Sankhya Buddhi and Yoga Buddhi. What are the lakshanas for it? Vyavasayatmika buddhehe eka iha kurunandana bahushaka hi anandascha buddhiyo avyavasayinam. Vyavasayatmika, absolute, resolute. Buddhi, Vyavasayatmika is adjective for buddhi. So an intelligence which is resolute in nature or determined in nature. Eka iha kurunandana. Kurunandana means beloved child of the Kuru Vamsha. Eka iha. In this world, there is only one thing. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. That absolute, resolute intelligence. Bahushaka hi anandacha buddhya avyavasayinam. But for those who are not resolute in intelligence, for them, having various branches indeed is unlimited. And put in a simple English, O son of, O joy of Kurus, Arjuna, here there is but a single pointed determination. Many branched and endless are the thoughts for the irresolute. So Shankaracharya is now decoding them. Vyavasaya Atmika means Nischaya Swabhava. Eka eva buddhi. Itara viparita buddhi shaga vedasya bhadika samyak pramana nitatvat iha shreya marge e kurunandana. Here on the path of this highest good, O descendant of Kurus or joy of Kurus, the intellect that is resolute, whose very nature is firm determination, is one alone. Ya puna itara viparita buddhaya yasam shaghabeda prachara vashad anantaha aparaha anuparataha samsaraha nitya pratataha vistirnaha bhavati. Pramana janika viveka buddhi nimitta vashad cha uparatastu ananda beda buddhishu samsaraha api uparamade. What does he say? But all other intellects, which is not resolute, those that are opposed, due to the proliferation of their branching variations, make samsara endless, boundless, uninterrupted, continuously spread out and vast. He is referring to the various karma marga methods, which are branching out into multiple. That if you are desiring for Swarga, the method is different. If you are desiring for progeny, the method is different. If you are desiring for wealth and fame, the method is different. Like that, it is multiple branching and variations and creates endless samsara. And it's boundless samsara because there is no boundary for it. And because it is desire driven, it is uninterrupted. One after the other, the desires keep cropping us. And it is continuously spread out and vast. From the birth onwards, samskaras are created by these aspects of Purva Mimamsa till the death and after death also. After death, you can't do it, but you are making sure that your progeny is doing what is supposed to be done. Then only you will get a release from the body of the dead. That is the way in which the Purva Mimamsa karmas are being created and multifarious. And when through the rise of discriminative intellect generated by valid means of knowledge, by the Vedanta, Upanishad, were saying that the Upanishad is the real import of Vedas. The Purva Mimamsa is to show that there is no end to what we are doing. There is no way in which we can complete it. If it is uninterrupted, if it is interrupted, we have to start it all over again. If it is not done from the beginning of your life to the end of your life and beyond, then again you are incurring pratyavaya, means papa. So all those things are prescribed in the Vedas in the beginning to generate vairagya. It is not that they have to be done. That is not the purpose of Purushartha. The moksha, one who is looking for freedom from all those things. That is why in Mundaka Upanishad we heard that Parikshalokan karmajitan brahmana nirvedamaya nastya gratakrudena. Then such a person goes with a discriminative intellect generated by valid means of knowledge. The valid means of knowledge are pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, arthapatti, anupalabdhi, shabdam. So the Upanishad comes under the shabdam. Those infinite diversified notions subside when we do that, having to follow the pramana of the Upanishad. Then samsara itself also comes to an end. Samsaraha api uparamate. Ta buddhya bahushaka bahvaya shakaha yasam ta bahushaka bahubeda ityarthaha iti etat. Because it is produced by right means of knowledge, it sublates and cancels the multiple branching multiplicity of the earlier portion of the contrary notions of the Vedas. So he is saying that the first part of the Veda, just as the Mimamsaka say that Upanishad or the Vedanta is a Arthavada, means eulogy. Of what? Of the person who is doing the Purva Mimamsa, Veda actions. Now the Vedantin is saying the other way around. Purva Mimamsa are actions to prove that actions cannot give a result. It can be endless, infinite, multifarious. When interrupted, it can create papa, and it is branching out into multiple ways. And from the birth to death and beyond, you have to continue. So that is for generating vairagya towards all these actions themselves. Kesham, then this is for whom? Avyavasayinam pramana janita viveka buddhi rahitanam ityarthaha. This Purva Mimamsa then is for whom? Of those who are not with resolute intellect, understanding. In other words, of those devoid of discriminative intellect born out of valid knowledge. Krishna's most precise epistemology of bondage and liberation, directly glossing the verse 41. He is using a term, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. What does it really mean? It defines it with three qualifiers. Vyavasayatmika means having the nature of decisive ascertainment, or the intellect which is conviction bound. Nischaya Swabhavaha, intrinsically firm and unwavering. Eka eva, that knowledge can be only one, and it is not branching like multivarious actions in the Karma Kanda. This will not will power or moral grit, but it is epistemic finality, knowledge that leaves no remainder. Because Samyak Pramana Janita, the knowledge which is thus acquired is born out of valid knowledge. This is what Shankaracharya is very categorically mentioning everywhere. What I am saying is not a person's individual experience. It is sarva sadharana. It is a common experience of everyone, which can be tested both logically and anubhava, from experience. If somebody is not able to understand the logic, that means his mind is not still ready for understanding the logic. Once your logic becomes a resolute ascertainment of vyavasayatmika buddhi, then anubhava is exposed, which he has been experiencing all through. Nothing new is created. No new knowledge, no knowledge cannot create anything. It can only destroy ajnana, because knowledge is not a karma. Knowledge is not an action. Knowledge expresses what it is, the truth. And when we realize the truth, nothing new is produced. What is there already is being seen or experienced. Therefore, it is called Samyak Pramana Janita. It invalidates all rival cognitive claims. All claims from the other parts of other followers or other practices, whether it is, dhyana, tantra, mantra, yandra, whatever may be that it will invalidate them, all of them, because they are all the doership based activities. Here is something, there is no doership. It is your swarupa. And it is the swabhava of the Atma, what we call it as life. Then why is right knowledge only one, not many? Because truth is unitary. Valid knowledge converges, whereas error is multifarious and diverging in nature. Hence, one pramana, that means one ascertainment, not many confusions, like many branches of the Purva Mimamsa. Liberation is cognitively simple, very simple, whereas bondage is cognitively complex. What type of a bondage are we getting into? We have no idea. But one knowledge can break all the knots or all the bondages which we imagined on ourselves. How many branches intellect sustains samsara? Anantaha means endless. Apara. Para means shore. Apara means as we are in a mid-ocean looking for a shore to take our boat of life. But samsara is that ocean. That is the way samsara is called an ocean of samsara. Anuparata. And it is without cessation. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death keeps on going. We feel that continuity. Nitya Pradata. And it is constantly flowing. Samsara is constantly flowing from birth to death, then again from death to death, again birth to death. This continuous teaching. And this Vistirna, ever expanding. expanding in multiple directions, multifarious directions. Swarga, Patala, and different directions. Why? Because each branching belief creates new desires, new fears, new actions, and new results. Therefore, multiplicity in cognition is the multiplicity in bondage. Then how do the collapse of karma, samsara can take place? When the infinite branching notions subside, samsara itself will subside. Not because the world ends, but because misinterpretation of the world ends. Seeing the world as nama rupa, when that ends, what we will be seeing is sat and chit. Because samsara is not an external mission. It is a cognitive structure where when ignorance is there, the only antidote for that is knowledge. Who suffers infinite branching? Those who are avyavasai, those who are without decisive cognition or definitive ascertainment. Or in other words, pramana janita viveka buddhi rehitanam. Those who are lacking discriminative knowledge born out of valid means. The valid means are still there, but they lack the discriminative capacity to understand it properly. They think that the Purva Mimamsa is do's and don'ts. We should never let do's and don'ts be let go, because if we do it, we will get papam, or we will get the rebound, and that will make us come back again in life here again. All this is out of fear. And out of fear, the belief on the Purva Mimamsa is assured. But there are two exclusions to that. Ignorance as innocence. Ignorance out of innocence is not samsara. Doubt as humility. When you have ignorance and when you have the humility that you have an ignorance, you can have a doubt. That doubt can be answered by the valid pramana, and then you will be freed from the doubt. The problem is the lack of right ascertainment or vyavasayatmika buddhi, not the lack of effort. So, the intellect aimed at liberation is single-pointed and decisive, and it arises from valid means of knowledge. It can cancel all contrary branching notions. Branching intellect, on the contrary, branching intellect generates the endless samsara. And when discriminative knowledge arises, samsara subsides. And bondage is a cognitive multiplicity, liberation is cognitive unity. The many-branched or multifarious intellect belongs to the non-discerning or undiscerning. Truth is simple and one. Ekameva dvitiyam brahma. Whereas errors is complex and many. And when the knowing becomes single-pointed, ekatmya, samsara itself has nowhere to stand. The samsara itself will become mithya, not a real one. Yesham vyavasayatmika buddhir nasti te. What do the people who do not have this intellect, discerning intellect or definitive intellect? Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti vavyasitaha vedavadarata partha na anyadasti iti vadinaha. Yamimam, all this, pushpitam, flowery, vacham, words. Pravadanti means announce or say. Vipaschitaha, men with poor knowledge. Who are they? Vedavadarata, supposed to be the followers of the Purva Mimamsa. O Partha, O Arjuna, na anyadasti iti vadinaha. They are the people who advocates that there is nothing else other than the Purva Mimamsa. So, O son of Partha, those who are undiscerning people who utter this flowery talk, which promises birth as a result of rights and duties, and full of various special rights meant for attainment of enjoyment, affluence like Surga, etc. They remain engrossed in utterances of the Veda and declare that nothing else exists. Their minds are full of desires and they have heaven as the goal, Surga, Putra, etc. Now Shankaracharya decodes it. Yam imam vakshamanam pushpita iva vrikshaha shobhananam shruyamana ramaniyam vacham vakyalakshanam pravadanti. That speech which is about to be spoken, which are flowery, beautiful like a tree in full bloom, appearing charming when heard, but having the form of elaborate sentences which they speak about. This Purva Mimamsa wordings, if we listen to it, they are flowery. Lot of poetic imagination and expressions of describing Surga, the heaven and the life, etc. Or how beautifully you can do the yaga, yajna for a son or progeny or, wealth and cattle, etc. All of them. They are pushpita, vacha. Hey, who are they? Avipaschitaha, those who are undiscerning. Amedasa, unintelligent. Avivekinaha, they are without discrimination. Vedavadarataha, delighting in the statements of Veda. Means, Bahu arthavada phala sadhana prakasheshu Veda vakyeshu rataha. Engaged in those Vedic passages which expound various fruits and means to attain those fruits. Hey Partha, Arjuna, they declare this, na anyadasti, Surga Pashu Adi Lakshana Dhanebhi Karmebhyaha iti evam vadinaha vadanashilaha. There is nothing else besides action that are means to attain such results as heaven, cattle and like. These are the people called Vedavadinaha or Vadaradaha. Thus being people who are habituated to speaking in this way. Thankfully, Krishna was born much before Buddha. Otherwise, Krishna would have been called by Prachanna Buddha by these Mimamsakas, like how they are talking about Shankaracharya now. Because he is ridiculing. Krishna's words are very clear. What does he say? Yamimam pushpitam vajam pravatanti vipaschitaha. And what are they? Vedavadarataha partha na anyadasti iti vadinaha. This is Krishna's own words. So, indecisive critique of Karmaganda absolutism is what is here we can say that. Ritualism. Polemic against ritualism. Pushpita vacha means danger of ornate speech. Pushpita means full of flowers, decorative. Like a tree that looks splendid but does not yet bear fruit. Such speech, because all that they are promising is hereafter. And nobody is there to guarantee that hereafter somebody has got it. Because everybody is here. Nobody has come back to say, yes, I did this yajna and I got Surga. Or even those who are for the cow, cattle, progeny and everything, how many of them have become successful? How many of them are coincidental? Or how many of them are ritualistic in nature? Nobody knows. Therefore, such talks of the Purva Mimamsa are delights to the ear. And it excites the desire in the listeners. Multiple imagination. But it does not yield liberation. Again and again in samsara, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. This criticism is not aesthetic, but mukti mimamsa. Beauty of language becomes bondage when it feeds desire. That is the understanding what we have to take from Pushpitam Vacha. Why these speakers are called Avipaschitaha? Because there are three negations have to be brought in together to understand that. Avipaschitaha means lacking insight. Amedasaha means lacking intelligence. Avivekinaha means lacking discrimination between the Nitya and Anitya. It's not an abuse. It is a diagnosis. They are not being abused by these words. They do not distinguish the means from the end. They confuse preparation with fulfillment. They absolutize instrumental action. So Krishna is not saying that Purva Mimamsa is irrelevant. But they are Pushpita Vacha. They are flowery statements of the Vedas. Because Krishna will later say, this Veda is what I have taught from Manu onwards, everyone. So how can he do himself a talk like this? What he meant is that he has given the Purva Mimamsa, the Karma Kanda, for the purpose of directing one toward the knowledge that there is the Surga is a after death promise. You do not know whether it is going to be real or not. Why are we doing? Develop a Vairagya for Surga. All the actions which we are doing is karmachita. They have won the karma by doing that many times for developing Vairagya. So the Purva Mimamsa is not misplaced or unwanted. It is for developing a Vairagya. They are called Vedavadarata because that attachment to the words but not the meaning which is intended from that. They went by literal meaning. The charge is subtle. They are not attached to Vedas as truth. They are attached to the Vedic wordings as promise. They relish Arthavada, eulogistic passages in the Vedas, promises of heaven, cattle, progeny, power, etc. These are advertisements. Promises of heaven, cattle, progeny, etc. are advertisements to look toward the goal, which is the liberation. Because heaven is not guaranteed. Even if you achieve heaven, Shine Punye Martyalogam Vishanti. There is an end to it. You have to come back here. Cattle, progeny, power, all are temporary, ephemeral. You do not know how long they will last, how long you can enjoy. And they say that there is a fatal error in their statement. They said there is nothing else. This is the gravest mistake and a claim from their side. Na anyat asti. But when one believes in that, it will deny the chance for self-knowledge. And when you deny self-knowledge, liberation is denied. And if we are not getting liberation, the cessation of samsara will never take place. Shankara sees this as a spiritual myopia. The sealing of bondage by scripture itself when it is misunderstood. How does this matter in Gita's architecture? Placed immediately after the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, this criticism shows that one-pointed knowledge leads to liberation, not to Swarga or cattle, etc. Many branch the ritual fans the desire, leading to endless becoming, birth, death, etc. Thus, ritualism is not false, but it is an absolutization of that is a fatal error. To sum up, certain Vedic speech are alluring, ornate, and pleasant to hear. The undiscriminating mind takes this flowery speech as final truth. And they delight in the ritual promises of heaven and prosperity, etc. They deny anything beyond the ritual action. Shankara exposes this as ignorance of the ultimate, and ornamented birds bind and blinds when discrimination is absent. Put in simple words, when scripture is heard without discrimination, its flowers are like intoxicating ones. And the fruit of freedom is often forgotten when we are intoxicated. So the next verse starts with Kamatmana Swargapara Janma Karma Phalapratam Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Bhogaishcharya Gatim Prati. We will take this verse tomorrow. 43. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawada.
Thank you very much, Midhoji. I'm going to open the chat and hand raising if there are any follow-up questions or discussions.
Namaste, Srini.
Namaste, Binduji. I think some of the questions I had yesterday have been resolved by today's session. With today's session, actually, the whole concept of karma yoga got transformed from yesterday to today. For me, actually, what I was thinking. So,
Okay.
so basically, what for this session I understand is like Arjuna's Vishada is because he thought the war is his kamya karma kind of thing. And what
Right.
Krishna is doing by karma yoga is he's trying to convert that into a nimitta karma kind of thing, right? So that is what karma yoga is essentially. The concept is doing, right? Of course, it does multiple other things also, but at least this is the cause of Vishada, and that is how it is being addressed, I feel. So what do you say?
Right.
That is
That's
correct.
right. That's correct. Nimitta karma is from the point of view of Swadharma. That as a Kshatriya, it is a nimitta for him, it has come. That is why he also said, no, for a Kshatriya, there is no better opportunity than a onset of a war. Because that is the place where he can excel in his action. And either way, whether you win or lose, there is good for you kept. So it's a win-win for you, whether you win or lose. Don't have to worry. If you win, you have the world and the kingdom and everything. If you lose, Swarga is there as per the Shastra. So by either way, you are not going to be a loser. But it is an opportunity for a Kshatriya to fight a war as his Swadharma.
Yep, this is what actually threw me off yesterday, I think, because Hatovas Prapyase Swargam Jitvava, it sounds like we are enticing Arjuna with outcomes, right? With fruits.
That is the last explanation given by Krishna after having everything. I taking into granted that Krishna is a dullhead who cannot even understand the earlier methods of explanation from the Atma point of view to, duty point and then philosophical thing. At least from the social knowledge which you are having, you are not going to be a loser. So that is taking Krishna taking Arjuna as the most dullhead person who is listening to it. Through Arjuna is addressing us.
Yeah, because that doesn't even kind of qualify under Karma Yoga, right? Like Hatova Prapyase Swargam.
Yeah. That doesn't qualify under Karma Yoga, no.
Okay. Yeah, that's yesterday I was like totally thrown off, I think, for some reason. I didn't understand actually. Yeah. Actually, today is actually very nice. It is, I think Karma Yoga now is just that sadhana chatushtaya, what we talked when we were talking Upanishads. The cultivation or having that whatever, that sadhana chatushtaya is somehow, I think it relates to the Gita language of Karma Yoga in that way.
Yes. It'll mature into that. Lot of the questions which can come are naturally answered by Krishna himself in the subsequent portions.
Yeah, that's why generally I want to wait for next class, but yeah, sometimes we just start.
Namaste Venkat. Thank you, Srini.
Thank you, Vinay.
So I'll take little longer if okay. I've been contemplating and applying to what is around. If you look at the world, the turbulent world today, there is a conflict between strong and weak versus right or wrong. When I say strong and weak, the bullying, we all know, a stronger country bullying, the weaker ones getting what they wanted.
Right.
So this is what happened, in the war here. Duryodhana is a bully, strong versus the weak Pandavas. I think he drove them to forest. When these people come back, they are the war is between the right or wrong versus strong and weak. If you look at the current world order, the realignment is happening between these two forces. Even the structure of our society, it is happening within, corruption versus rule-based. Corruption is crept into the government setup. I was seeing there is a, recent walk for a tea. The whole hotel, they're dumping the food waste into the drain. And who's cleaning it? The BBMP government van is cleaning it. So they're all colluding. Basically, the people who supposed to play the rule book, right or wrong, is just colluding with the who's strong in that area.
Okay.
So the whole idea is the whole setup is this is a conflict happening even in a family. Stronger person sort of abuse the weaker one, even within a family, even within relatives who's financially strong. Trump on the weak. So that is at all level. Basically, the life structure is dominant tree grows and it will not allow others to grow. That's a configuration. Now, this conflict of, strong, weak versus right or wrong, some will, conveniently adopt which is good for them, right? Suppose someone is running a religious organization on a rule-based structure, it is giving good money, why not? Keep it. So a country like China, adopt both ways. Whichever comes, make them, their good outcome. So Vedic structure is also karma, in the karma. What gives Bhoga Ishwarya, that money, I'll adopt it. What they want, they adopt it. The desired configuration adopts it.
Right.
Now, in this conflict, for Arjuna to drive, because Krishna is giving, okay, if you follow the right or wrong, the right will give you Swarga, right? Or the outcome which is the kingdom. So even in the righteous path, it will give you bones, no doubt, in the world, if at all, right, Binduji? So that is the right or wrong. He's trying to swing him there. The dharma, that the dharma buddhi has to be. You need to move away from strong weak configuration, which is, taking a path of more involvement, more deep immersion into the karma. It at least come to the dharma, and then go a step above it. That's the path. Krishna has a smart guru guiding Arjuna in this way. In various technique he is applying right now. This is how I'm contemplating, Binduji.
Yeah. See, regarding the bullying by the strong, there is a anecdote in Kerala. See, in the paddy field, there is connection between one corner to another corner with a narrow, footpath type of a thing, single one. There is no two person cannot walk side by side. They have to walk one behind the other. So a bully comes from the other side. He will not step out when a person comes from the other side. He will push the lesser one into the paddy field, and then he will continue his walking. So they say that if two bullies are coming, they will end up fighting on the paddy field. If there is one bully and one intelligent person, the intelligent person will step aside without fighting so that the bully can go without getting into fighting with the bully. The third option is that when there is a scenario where both of them are intelligent and don't want to bully the other one, the middle path is left and both of them will give side where you will find the middle is still available without even a confrontation. So same way, if today somebody is bullying, he will keep bullying to such an extent when he realizes that the bullying cannot work anymore because the intelligent ones have found out other means to circumvent the bullying. And that happens, it will be the loss to the bully only. That is what is happening in today's world. So when Arjuna is being given this advice by Krishna, it is not to take that the bully by Duryodhana by the horns, but handle it with the knowledge so that you will always be in a better position because the bully will never think from the right point of view. This knowledge is not going to be there with Duryodhana, only with Arjuna. So Arjuna will be able to handle the situation with discriminative intellect. That is the way in which I see it.
Pindoji, I think that realignment, the smart one silently does it.
Yes.
And a bully is always, like an alpha male, get isolated eventually. That's a, nature also drives that way.
True.
It is so relevant even today. Pindoji. This whole teaching is very well sort of getting navigated. Thanks for all of this.
This whole verse, now we are in the 42nd verse we completed. Up to 53, it's only on Karma Yoga. And after 53, the next topic will come.
So you're talking about ignorance. This is with the yoga and gnana, right? Yoga uncovers the Purusha Gnana. They use the word called Purusha Gnana. And Gnana uncovers Buddhi Gnana. The Purusha Gnana is that tasting that elixir, Swarupa, that yoga takes you to that Samadhi. Hence, it takes away that, gives the taste of your nature, Bhava. While it is not enough. The Buddhi Yoga eventually takes away all the doubts, that wrong understanding, wrong identification, all that. Buddhi can only resolve it, but the two agnanas fundamentally getting resolved. It is important to get to the yoga marga to remove that Purusha Gnana, which is that the taste of your nature. Hence further, Buddhi Yoga, the Sankhya or Gnana Yoga takes away the remaining, it sweeps away everything else. So these are two important, this is how I am navigating, Pindoji.
Okay. That's okay, because where you are placed decides how you will comfortable and how you want to proceed. So nothing wrong with it. Thank you, Venkat.
Binduji, one quick question. This Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, it applies like yesterday when there was a mention of this Lokesmin Dvivida Nishta, Jnana Yogena and Karma Yoga. This Vyavasayatmika Buddhi is common for both, right? Both Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Is it the right understanding?
Mostly in the Karma Yoga. Because that is the place where you need a determination, no? And once the conviction happens, you are already acquired the knowledge. Till then, the karma will become a Karma Yoga.
Okay. It's the main thing to come out of that Bahushaka Anantaya kind of
Right.
thing, right? Okay. So
that's right.
Okay, got it, Binduji. Thank you.
Bindoji, in this
Yes.
context, I'm reminded of when Adi Shankaracharya had a debate with Mandana Mishra. So the suppression of jnana by karma, by the karma yogi, is that a correct interpretation, Bindoji? Or
No, I didn't hear you properly. The suppression of, what is the
yeah.
word you used?
So then, yeah, that's generally in a social context. Why? Because Venkatji was referring to the social upheaval of this power struggle, right? So in the spiritual path, the struggle of the ignorance arising because there is a suppression of the jnana marga by the karma yoga or the karma marga. Is that
No, that way you can't say. No, that way you can say. It is a discerning mind which has to take the decision as to which marga is best with the knowledge arising out of pramanas, or valid means of knowledge. If you do not do that, you are in a state where you need to do the karma yoga, where you will be equipped for the pramana jnana, or the valid means of knowledge, and then that valid means of knowledge with the continued karma yoga will be the one which culminates in jnana.
Yes. That is for the individual, but collectively in social context.
Collectively, that you cannot say jnana for a collective society, because application of that jnana is individual from the point of view always. There is no a social, what you call upheaval towards jnana. That will never happen. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Krishna will tell later in this Bhagavad Gita. Among thousands, only one will be interested in the knowing that jnana marga. So it cannot be a social aspect at all.
Would you consider that that Adi Shankaracharya stood for the vision of Jnana Marga because it's contextualized in many manners where he would always maintain this pedagogical clarity of Jnana Marga, right?
Right.
Yeah.
See, we should understand one thing. The purpose why Shankaracharya had to do that specifically was that Jnana Marga was lost in the misunderstood meanings of the Purva Mimamsa and commentaries of Upanishad based on the misunderstood wordings of the Purva Mimamsa. So they considered the Uttara Mimamsa or the Upanishads or the Vedanta as a flowery wordings of the one who does the yagas and yajnas or the karma. The Atman and Brahman is the nature of the person is to indicate that you will achieve that type of a happiness. Niratishaya Ananda, what you will get. But it is not that they were treating that, there is this verse, Parishalokan Karmajitan. Those are part of the Upanishad and that should also be seen as a valid statement. They didn't look into it. So they enforced, and the whole country, wherever this Vedic religion was existing, they all predominantly became Karmakandins. Karmakandins means not Karma Yogins. Karmakandins are the people who literally follow word by word of the Purva Mimamsa, the the earlier part of the Veda for the ritualistic aspects, which talks about heaven, progeny, wealth, etc. So the Jnana Marga was lost. That's why I said, if somebody had just wanted to call, they should have easily said, Krishna is the Prachanda Buddha. Because Buddha did the same thing, no? He said the Vedas are only talking about.
Yes, thank you, Binduji. Any follow-up questions from the audience or members on the speakers panel? If not,
PhD is typing so many things, but he's not coming up.
yeah, he might be doing something. I think this looks like there's no more questions. So
Yeah, okay, then we can close it.
yeah, thank you everyone for coming and for attending the session. We'll continue tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. IST with class number 25. Thank you very much, Binduji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Srini, Venkat. Thank you all for being there. We'll continue tomorrow. Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om. Good night.